Happy Sunday morning, everybody. This is Mark from Solar Games, and today I do want to bring attention to a problem I've discovered within Brothers War, and want to basically make sure that everyone out there at least understands what's going on, make decisions for yourself, what you want to do, and just bring more awareness into the market, because whenever there's issues with authenticity, it is a big deal, and we should, as a team, understand what's going on so then we can better protect ourselves, but also have understanding across the environment. This actually has caused problems for one of my buyers recently, who claimed that the cars I shipped him were fake. I had some back and forth with this gentleman, very nice guy, very open and honest, and showing me his tests of how he was able to determine it was fake or not. And then we had some back and forth, which sparked me to look into Brothers War print cards in more detail. And I noticed a big problem with Brothers War. So one of the problems is that the Brothers War cards from the set boosters, whether it's printed in Japan or US so far that I've opened, will not pass the light test. And this is a big deal because, well, light test is one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, to tell if a card is real or not. And if it's basically if it's an easy way to test whether a card is authentic or not, and we can't trust it, well, that's gonna be a problem. So let's just talk about what it looks like, right? So as far as I can tell right now, the Brothers War set and set boosters, whether it comes from the set booster box, the set booster from the bundle, for the gift edition bundle, they all exhibit this issue. And again, gift editions and the bundle are usually printed in US, while the set boosters themselves are usually printed in Japan. So the booster boxes, again, wave one, come from Japan. For those that you don't know, there is some print differences between the cards. Some players prefer the Japan prints. They're usually more glossy. They feel smoother. Just in general, higher quality paper. While the US printed cards are usually more grainy. They feel a little bit sandy, if that makes any sense when you touch it. But if you put it in the sleeve, I guess it doesn't matter. There are also slight color differentiations between the two. Japan print runs are usually supposed to be a little bit more vibrant color-wise, and then the US print runs are usually a little darker. Again, every print run is different. Personally, I prefer for touch and feel, I prefer the Japan cards in general over the US cards. But the foiling in Japan, for some reason, is usually a little bit too dull for me. And then the foiling in the US side is actually a lot better. It's more vibrant, the color's just different. I don't know how this works. And again, every set is different, so you have to make up your mind on each set individually. But the big problem now is that we actually have cards within the set boosters that will not pass any light test. And by this, I mean basically if you shine a light underneath it, it will show up a purple maroonish color instead of the normal clear through colors. So basically, let's do this. I'll take you to the lab, and then we'll check out the cards, and then we'll see what's going on there, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, welcome back. We are in my lab now, and we're gonna look at these cards in detail. So I did notice, again, the issue seems to be in the set boosters only, not in the draft. And what in general happens is that we use something called the light test. Now, the light test, by that, I don't mean the UV light test, I mean the white light test, high lumen flashlight. The reason I do this is because honestly, this is one of the easiest ways to tell a fake from real. And it usually, I mean, I would say, of course, you should use all your verifications together, but usually this is a very fast, easy way for me to kind of trigger on a problem and then look closely. Fake cards so far in my experience have never passed the light test. So that doesn't mean that a real card could also have problems with the light test. It just means that if it's a fake, in general, it has not passed the light test. Whereas real cards sometimes won't pass the light test as well. So that's why you have to use other methods of verification. But just a reminder of what the light test does is if you take any card, for example, this card is, this is a 5th edition Truce. So this card here, it will pass the light test because when you shine light underneath it, you'll see that it shows through pretty nice and white through the card. Again, this is a high lumen flashlight, so I won't shine this in your eye, but you can see this is what happens, or what's supposed to happen when a card has the right core. Again, the reason why this shows through is because Magic prints their cards on a very special core of the paper. It's kind of like a couple layers, and this basically allows, because the glue they use or the lack thereof, it actually allows the colors to show through correctly. Similarly, here's a Ground Assault, from a much later set. You'll notice that there's a little bit more of a almost like a wavy pattern, but again, the light shows through all the way through. And the wavy pattern is just simply because the printing of the inking is a little different. And yeah, this is like, you know, many years. This is from, what is this from? Like Modern Horizons, or no, this is Modern Masters maybe. So anyways, this card obviously will be a little bit different from the other card here, the Truce, right? So this is what light test does normally, and this is what cards should look like when you run it under a high lumen light. So let's look at what happens here, right? So if you take a look at the draft booster here, so we take any crappy common, and the reason you do commons, especially if you suspect there's a problem with the set printing, is that you'll notice people usually don't fake commons. And again, this, right, very similar to what you're seeing here. So we'll kind of switch it out. You'll see, shines through, a little bit yellow, but here's very, very clearly white all the way through, right? No issues. And if we take any other card, say, let's take the rare from the pack. Again, this is a pack fresh card. All these are pack fresh. I take the rare here and I shine it under. You'll notice same thing, right? In fact, all of these cards, doesn't matter, like the retro foil here even, or retro frame here, same thing. It shines bright white through the card, no issues, right? And this is just gonna be true for any of the cards. Again, we'll pick another random card here. For example, this one here, you'll see that it shines through bright white. This is how you normally would be able to tell a real card from a fake. Again, a fake card usually will be a lot more dull. Sometimes the light won't even pass through, or it's a very, very grainy yellow. There's a lot of different variants of this. Again, if it's a card that does not pass the light test, that doesn't necessarily mean it's fake, but no fake cards can pass the light test as far as I've seen. So if that makes sense, usually if you see the wrong color, you do have to do more inspections, and in general, it'll be pretty obvious. So that's what the US draft boosters of Brothers War look like. Now, I will show you a couple cards from the set booster. Again, US printing, so you can see right away there's a problem. This light is not showing through at all, or it's kind of showing through very, very dull. And the reason, and this is the thing, if you use a normal flashlight, not high lumen, you might not even be able to see this. Again, I'm in a dark room recording this, and you can definitely see that like almost like reddish, maroon color, purple-ish color shining through. And this is a pack fresh set booster. So I know this is legitimate because again, it's, you know, from my own collection that I have a very, very good source distributor that I have gotten these from, you know, in many, many boxes. So this is not like a specific box that has this issue. In fact, all of them have this issue. And these set boosters, by the way, are set booster packs are actually from the gift bundle. So this is the latest entry, printed run, if you will. But here's what they show. Here's a rare Siege Veteran, and you can see it's a little dull-ish maroon shining through. Again, if you do all the other tests, if you look at the green dot test, etc., you'll notice that they all pass. The only issue, of course, is the core of the paper. So what my suspicion has happened is that the print run this time, they're using a different core. So let's look at the Japan set booster. So here, I'll drop this down. Again, excuse the light. You'll notice this is very similar. It's a little bit more bright than the US set booster print, but still that color is not showing through like it would for a set booster printed in the US. So here's a really good example of the difference. As you can see, if I lay the two cards on top of each other like this, you'll notice one card is much brighter and one card is much more dull. And this is not supposed to happen, right? So normally the magic cards that are legitimate usually will be shining through like this, and they will not look like this. So that's a big problem. Again, this I've noticed is true for any card within this set. In fact, you know, there are a lot of mythic rares that are doing this as well. So there's something to think about. All right, so what does that mean specifically? It just means that the light tests for Brothers War probably won't exist because, again, there's too many cards in this set from the set boosters that have this issue. Again, the draft boosters do not have this issue. And these draft boosters are sourced from pre-release kits. This set booster is from the gift bundle, and this set booster pack, these cards are from the set booster draft boosters, so the booster boxes. Like magic, we're back. Okay, so now that you've seen the cards and seen the differences, let's talk about what happens. From what I remember, there were some cards that had this same problem in Throne of Eldraine. So they had shown this purplish, maroonish color when you shine a bright light through instead of that clear white all the way through. And it was some cards, again, back then I was very new to Magic and I actually thought these cards were fake In retrospect, thinking about it later, I am pretty sure now confidently those are not actually fake cards. So that is what it is, okay? But it looks like whatever paper core they're using for Throne of Eldraine, they're using that again for Brothers War. So that's gonna cause some confusion into the future when people run light tests through these cards. Maybe, and I don't know how this affects like the serialized foils. And foil, usually you can't really run the light test because the foiling layer blocks the light. So most light tests don't work on foils, right? But anyways, I don't know how the serialized card's gonna work here, so maybe it doesn't matter. And also, who's checking authenticity of modern cards? It's not really something that's that valuable, so people usually don't care too much. But again, it's kind of like up to you. Maybe one of these cards will spike up in price, and we do have to figure out what's going on. But as far as I can tell, if it's Brothers War and it's doing this like weird purplish, maroonish color for the light test, it's probably fine. Do some other tests. The green dot test is still good for this case, and you can use that to tell if the card is authentic or not. Do the touch and feel. Look at the printing, if it's clear or if it's glossy or blurry. As far as my cards, I'm like I guess I can't be 100% sure, right? No one's 100% sure, but I'm 99.9% sure because first, this is a distributor that I trust that, we've had business for over 2 years, so I know where the source is coming from. Number two, it's because, well, simply like it's hard for these fakes to be made so fast, right? So usually the Chinese fakes or other foreign market fakes, they usually have to take high quality scans that they then take to their printers and try to remake the card again on different backs because they don't have the right paper or the right ink. And that's what causes those fakes to come to market. And in general, when they print fakes, they're not really printing like the crappy commons. So it doesn't make sense because as I've seen in the lab, even the commons and uncommons are showing the same, failing on the light test, which tells me that, hey, probably that just means that it's a print issue, right? Again, they're not using the right core paper versus it's actually like a fake that's coming from some third party, right? Basically. And again, in addition to that, it's just, there's going to be a lot of them. You're going to see it. So I think as more people run the light test, and please do it yourself and tell me what you see, because I'm fairly sure, again, you have to trace the card back to whether it's from the draft booster. And I don't have a Japanese draft booster that I can open to tell you one way or another. And maybe I'll have some of those cards later and I could, update this video. But as far as I can tell right now, the set boosters, whether it's Japan print or US print, are going to have this problem. The draft boosters that are US print from the pre-release kits do not have this problem. At least that's what I know right now. Yeah, and here's the thing. So like if you're out there looking at these cards, don't worry too much that they won't pass light tests. Use other tests. The green dot test is still good and it does pass for all the cards that I reviewed in my collection. Again, if all my cards are failing light tests, that's usually a sign that it's actually probably a print run issue. Yeah, I don't know what else to say on this topic. So don't panic, don't freak out. Your cards are probably fine. They're probably real. This does happen from time to time. Again, I'll run a fun, history video about this. But in the past, actually, there was Ice Age who had a problem like this. And let's see, Throne of Eldraine had some problems like this. And then throughout the second Ravnica era, up to Ixalan, they had a lot of print issues where the lettering's off. It looks like a fake card. So there's that. And of course, if they're faking cards, usually they're going to target more of the expensive card, Jason Mind Sculptor, Karn, those kind of cards, and more cards from like the master sets, and not really a card from the standard sets like this. It's not expensive enough to do that. I would be curious though what a fake serialized card would look like. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure what that looks like. I wish I can maybe potentially see one soon and see how that looks. But anyways, that's going to do it for me today. Mark, Solar Games, I'm signing out. And good luck with your cards and just double check them. But yeah, by and large, I don't think your Brothers War cards are fake. And here's another way to test, right? So you notice that light does pass through, right? If it's completely a fake, it might be a different color. It might not come through at all. So there's that too to kind of consider. So don't panic. Your cards are probably fine. And we'll see you next time. Peace.